Hello my friends and welcome back. And you survived the hump day, which was yesterday. Yes my friends, that's my new favorite sentence to say. Hump day, Wednesday, the spine of the week has been broken. And happy Thursday to you. We have one more day to survive before we can rest. But unfortunately, I will today start with a sad video because I don't want to ignore this, and I think we all need to see it, especially the European leaders who are still, I would say, sleeping. My friends, this video comes from Odessa, and we all know what happened in Odessa 4 days ago. Russian drone landed in an apartment building and there were a lot of casualties, civilian Ukrainian casualties, but not only people, also animals. And I want to bring awareness to this before we go on with military news. This dog suffers a stroke after Russia's attack on Dnipro. She lives in a shelter near the site of the attack. They take these explosions very hard. They howl and bark. And if a dog is old, it's more nervous. Here's a good example. Snezhka. Snezhka. The dog's hind legs failed. Now she's in a veterinary hospital. So she suffered a stroke because of she got startled because of the explosion and the sounds. Sorry, I said Odessa, it's actually Dnipro. But she was very confused, did not react to her owner or anyone else. She was completely lost, very scared. Doctors continue to fight for her life. My friend, this goes straight to my heart, and I want to share this with you. I don't want you to get the feeling of this is too sad and to feel desensitized. This is to see what Russian missiles are doing also to animals. I would say the goal of this video for European leaders to wake up, because we in Europe, we have a lot of powerful and wealthy countries with money to be allocated to military. We have options to make this end. For these animals not to suffer anymore, for Ukrainian people not to suffer. But it requires political will. And we, the democratic people of the West, we have the power to elect these officials. So let's keep this in mind when electing. All right, my friends, I know I gotta balance this out. It was sad, but now I want to bring you something funny. You have all heard about the Bermuda Triangle, right? You have? Well, did you know that in the Black Sea, in the area of Crimea, there's this very suspicious, and nobody knows what it is, but it's Budanov's Triangle. How we know it's there is that Russian ships suddenly turn into submarines. They're suddenly sunk in that triangle. Nobody knows how or why or where. There's usually just a lot of machine gun fire, and then there are submarines suddenly. So if you have any answers to this mystery, put it in the comments below. Now, my friends, I will bring you a speech from a person that I would have never thought I'm going to quote or speech, or actually a little bit look up to or respect. This is the French President Emmanuel Macron. Well, at the beginning of war, he was seen as Russia's pleaser or enabler, because he was the only one trying to communicate with Putin, while all other countries were like, okay, screw them, we're going to help Ukraine. But now there's a complete change in attitude. I don't know where Macron is suddenly getting the balls, but suddenly I like this new Macron. Very powerful words, direct, and the words are like, we in Europe, we will wake up and we will bring Ukraine to victory. I'll watch a 1-minute short speech of Macron. Hey, I'm as surprised as you are. We all have to be aware that this war is affecting us. And we never want to see things as they are. But we have to be lucid. It's been 2 years now that we've been repeating press conferences. War is back on European soil. It's been 2 years since we revealed the extent of materials already delivered, the financial support already provided. Is it our war or isn't it our war? This is a question Macron asks right now. Can we turn away? Consider that things can continue to play out? I don't think so. I don't think so too. Can we turn away? So we cannot turn away. And so it's a strategic awakening which I called upon and which I fully assume. So he, as a European leader, now suddenly for the last 2 weeks has been assuming this role of strategically awakened leader. This is, I look at what he has said, I look what decisions he had made, being the first leader in Europe not opposing sending French troops or NATO or European troops to Ukraine. I really respect that, because I do respect force and actions and powers and boundaries. And European leaders, unfortunately, do not set them. So Macron has, in the recent 2 weeks, completely changed his attitude, and I have to respect it. We have to be lucid about the reality of the situation in Europe, the risks that are at stake, and what we have to take on. I'm convinced that the clarity of these statements is what Europe needed. But you should go ask President... The subtitles are really poorly made because they change so fast it's hard to read. And President Putin is President Putin. And poutine is a food in Canada. And when I went to Canada, I had poutine because everybody said, you got to try poutine while you're in Canada. And I really liked it. But now we're not talking President Food, we're talking actually President Putin. What he's prepared not to do. Who initiated the war in Ukraine? Vladimir Putin. I'm sorry, I'm trying to make a serious point here, and now the subtitles are Vladimir Putin. Who is threatening whatever we do, whatever we say, with nuclear weapons? President Putin. Everyone turns to him to know what his strategic boundaries are. I will stop right here because this is the key. Why we as European leaders or United States, why do we look at Putin? What are his red lines? Why does he set the boundaries? Screw him. We set the boundaries. We say what lines he will not cross. And if he does, there will be our troops in Ukraine demilitarizing every last occupier that crosses the free nation of Ukraine's borders. Why do we look to him to follow his guidance on boundaries? No, we set them, we decide what happens in Ukraine. It's our decision and our responsibility, and any other way is enabling him. And we have done this for 2 years now. It's time to wake up. I do stand with this message, and I'm glad also Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas. I so much respect that woman. She has more balls than all European male leaders combined. She also does not oppose sending Estonian or NATO troops into Ukraine. Well done, Kaja Kallas. Now, my friends, I don't usually show Russian losses chart anymore because it gives us a misleading idea, because Russians don't count their losses. So why should we? Because it gives us an idea of, oh, they have so many losses, they're definitely doing bad. Yes, they are, but they don't care. But today I still bring you the chart because we haven't seen it for almost 2 months and the numbers are incredibly high. Now, keep in mind that Russians don't care, but I do. So, 1,160 troops casualties. Now, this is killed and wounded combined. It means taken off the battlefield. 17 tanks, 51 armored personnel vehicles. My God. Artillery systems, 42, 1 MLRS, vehicles and fuel tanks, 53. Now, this number here has been high for a year at least. This means Russians have been able to increase their production of Gaz trucks and Ural trucks by tenfold at least. Unfortunately, Gaz and Ural trucks are truly a Russian way of logistics because they're very robust trucks. They almost don't have no electronics, and you can fix them with a stone on the field. So if they do break, it's easy to fix, and it's also very easy to produce them, and Russia can do so almost fully with Russian parts. So this is, I gotta give credit to them, this is what they've been able to do, produce a shit ton of vehicles and logistics trucks. Overall, my friends, these Russian losses are the 7-day average, which means they're insanely high. This gives us an idea of Russians are pushing right now, almost everywhere, a lot and daily, but Ukrainian defenses are holding. So if any military blogger in the West or pro-Russian military blogger says that, oh, Ukraine is losing villages, we occupied a new village, yes. Near Avdiivka, Russians have occupied 3 to 4 new villages, which is altogether combined about 10 square miles. If you count success by counting square miles or square feet or meters, whatever you count, land occupied or liberated, this is a very faulty basis of success. Success means having manpower and weaponry to defend or to attack. Russia is losing that ability and Ukraine is gaining it slowly. So in my eyes, I see Ukrainian army as the more successful one. My friends, 2 words and you're gonna love it. Sea baby. Yes, first of all, whoever gave that name to the Ukrainian drone, I want to congratulate because it's perfect. It's damn beautiful. But now, my friends, sea babies attacked Russian Black Sea Fleet. They have sunk many ships, so they are, you could say they're a Wunderwaffe because Russia effectively has no antidote for them. And the last Sergei Kotov ship was also sunk by Ukrainian marine drones next or near to the Kerch Bridge, meaning Ukrainian sea drones are operating in the vicinity of the bridge itself and they could hit it if they want to. Russia has no antidote and it cannot effectively use its Black Sea Fleet. Now, a new Sea Baby drone is coming out. Not that the previous one was bad because it was already sinking Russian ships, but now even a new one is coming out and the specs are insane. I'll read them to you. Tests of a new version of the Ukrainian Sea Baby naval drone with a new hull design. As said, new model can carry up to 10 centners, which is 1,000 kilograms. Yes, you heard, 1 ton of explosives per one drone. I mean, Shahed drone is a beast. If it hits, it has 40 kilograms. Multiply that by 20 almost in that ballpark and you get the new Sea Baby upwards potential. 1 ton of explosives is enough to blow any bridge out of existence. So the Kerch Bridge, watch out. It can carry 10 centners of explosives over distances up to 1,000 kilometers. Hey, why 1,000 kilometers? They are in the Black Sea. They're not going out of the Turkish Straits, and the Black Sea is not 1,000 kilometers. So they have nowhere to go. The range is actually bigger than the physical limits of the sea itself. So that's a bit funny. But the possibilities of using marine drones of this model will not be limited only using it as a kamikaze drone. It is said that the design of the drone allows the installation of modules for firing at enemy coastal targets. There is also said to be a possibility of installing air defense systems on the platform. So, for now, Sea Baby has been a kamikaze platform. But remove the explosives and add an anti-air defense system on top of it. Manpad, I mean, a small shoulder-fired manpad which be installed on a metal rod, and it's suddenly an anti-air ship, extremely cheap and fast and agile, and it can push back Russian aviation assets away from the Black Sea, even from the western parts or from the northern parts. Huge. Also, you can put an anti-tank missile on top, or you can put, hell, you can even put a machine gun on top if you want. You can do a lot of things with this stuff. And you know what's the beautiful part? Russia does not have the program. The thing is, when kamikaze drones were popular, they were coming out. Russia immediately also modernized and now they're producing as much as Ukraine. Both sides have issues with them, but this is different. This is purely a Ukrainian Wunderwaffe. Russia has no antidote and they don't have their own marine drone programs. Nothing we have heard, at least, that has anyway been successful so far. So Ukraine is leading in that game, eliminating Russia's Black Sea Fleet power projection on the Black Sea completely. But now, my friends, the most crazy part, get ready for this. This drone, new Sea Baby, has first tests of also underwater capability. So it's a drone, it's a marine drone, but it's a submarine drone now. It can be underwater, so the most effective way Russians have been able to destroy some of these are just machine guns on choppers. That has worked the best, and it's also really robust. It's still a really bad version to destroy these marine drones. But if you put them on the water, that's it. It's basically a torpedo with a camera that you can aim directly on a ship. So when this new Sea Baby comes out, we'll be saying bye-bye to a lot of Russian Black Sea Fleet ships that will be sleeping with the fishes. My friends, the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis visited apartment building in Odessa. where a Russian suicide drone killed 12 Ukrainians. But that was a tragedy in itself, the suicide drone, and you all seen the footage. But you know what happened. He was with Zelensky. They were both together. So a European Prime Minister and Ukrainian President, during the visit, a Russian missile struck 200 meters away from the two PMs. Again, there were Ukrainian casualties. But imagine if that missile would have hit, the tragedy there would have been Zelensky and a European Union leader, Prime Minister, both of them perhaps casualties. I couldn't even imagine the outcome of that. Now, Greek Prime Minister spoke out about this attack after the attack itself, and I'll read his quote to you because this is, I would say, the first European leader in Ukraine who almost got killed, actually, just now. We heard the sirens as we were walking to our cars, and immediately there was a big explosion. For us, this is the best reminder that there is real hostilities going on here every day, and they are affecting more than just the front. My friends, and now the bombshell of a news in every kind of a way, because this is one of the most important ones, and it actually is connected to shells, because Ukraine's allies are close to securing the funding for 800,000 shells from outside of the EU. Now, what's the story behind it? European Union is not able to produce enough shells for Ukraine. Also, there is no political will to stop the export of European shells to other partners outside of the EU. Yes, you heard correctly. European Union is still to this day exporting European Union shell production, not to Ukraine, but outside of the EU. And only a political will to break these contracts can change that. It hasn't happened. Now, a few months ago, there was a movement, a plan in the EU to purchase shells from outside of the EU. And it was blocked by Cyprus, Greece, and France, 3 countries, which now have obviously changed their position because France, Macron, definitely a changed man in my eyes. Greek Prime Minister almost just got killed, so he must be a different man now. Where do these 800 shells come from? Well, nobody really knows exactly, but the Czech, country in Europe, they have announced that they have found 800,000 shells somewhere in the world. And if they get the funding, they will buy them for Ukraine. So now the funding is almost there. And we talk about, okay, North Korea giving 1 million or maybe 3 million shells to Russia. Half of them not in good shape. They explode in barrels. Well, Ukraine shoots out 2,000 shells per day right now. Russia shoots out close to 10,000, 5 times more. Now, Ukraine is in acute shortage of shells. How much would this 800,000 shells mean for Ukraine? When they shoot out 2,000 to 3,000 per day, that's 266 days worth of shells, which means 8 to 9 months of current rates. But possibly if they receive this huge, gigantic amount of shells, they will probably increase their daily shootage of the shells to 4,000 to 5,000. So it's about 4 to 5 months, half a year worth of shells that liquidate Russian troops, tanks, everything. Artillery is the king of this war next to kamikaze drones. So this is a huge movement. Funding is almost secured. And if this really happens, this will change the outlook for Ukraine for the next 6 months, up until the United States elections. This is really big. My friends, not many people are talking about the Ukrainian, and I hate to say it and call it like that, but the Ukrainian Surovikin line. Actually, it's the Ukrainian Donbas line. It's a similar defensive line like the Surovikin line was, and the Surovikin line proved to everybody in Ukraine and Russia that static defensive lines, like in World War I, do still apply in this war. Since Russia uses tactics from the past, then you need defenses from the past, which are statical trench lines, huge defensive lines. Now, satellite images are finally starting to show some of the new defensive lines and fortifications that Ukraine is building in the east and south of the country. President Zelensky gave an order to fortify the front line and start building these defensive lines, which are 3 defensive lines in depth already in the fall and winter of 2023. But now it's March 2024 and they're only now being finished, and Avdiivka fell 1 month ago, and by that time still the defensive lines were not ready. Well, now they have sped up the building process. of these lines, and by now we could say they're almost finished. Now, Russian army has not reached almost anywhere to even the first defensive lines. So if we say that Russia is gaining ground so fast, no, they gain only a few square miles and they haven't even reached the heavily fortified Ukrainian defensive lines in depth yet. These are the Ukrainian forward positions that Russians are bloodying themselves against right now. I just want to let you know with this news that Ukraine has thought about defense in the long term, defense in the depth, and Russia will have a huge issue in penetrating those lines, especially if Ukraine gets the new shells, 800,000 of them. What Russians are trying to do right now for the past month, ever since the fall of Avdiivka, is capitalize on the gain of occupying Avdiivka, pushing everywhere, and it immediately results in huge losses. They're also taking a lot bigger risks because, if Avdiivka fell, therefore Ukrainian defenses are crumbling. That is not the case at all anywhere. So Russians are using a lot more air force, taking more risks. Immediately they're starting to lose much more planes. The plane losses are highest in 1 month ever since the first or second month of the war. Also, manpower losses, tank and infantry fighting vehicle losses. So this shows this tactic by the Russians cannot be sustained, and Ukrainians haven't even fallen back to their defensive lines yet. They're even able to hold their forward fighting positions. So the situation is not that dark as the Western media portrays it. Also, to the end of this video, I want to say the final message that Macron is changing with these sentences and with his 2 feet on the ground now that we must fight Russia. Estonian Prime Minister is following. We have these 800,000 shells being moved to Ukraine. With this, I'm glad. Europe is slowly waking up, and to the United States, all I gotta say is thank you. That's it. Now, my friends, one of my editors, Adrian, has made a wonderful video compilation about us giving trucks to the Ukrainian units, Rehi trucks, the trucks that you have bought actually in January. So it's a nice 1-minute video. I'll play it at the end of here so you can have a nice little success feeling because you made this happen. These trucks are driving drones and soldiers to the front line thanks to you, the donator, the viewer. So I bring to you the Rehi trucks. Also, until my next video, which will be tomorrow, Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.